YouTube. Hi, Facebook. Give me a minute. Almost ready. I got to get up and running on Twitch. Hey, priority one message, yo.
6 criminals is done.
Suicide Squad is done.
Whoop.
That's it, no?
Okay, here we go. Let me move stuff around. I'm trying to make room. I'm going to take off my mask so that the deaf community can read my lips because I can't sign fast enough. Let me see if I can't fix everything. News, pop culture news. Cam, give us that Spider-Man news.
Alfred Molina will be reprising as Doc Ock for Spider-Man 3.
And who else?
Andrew Garfield is reprising his Amazing Spider-Man.
And
Emma Stone is reprising Gwen Stacy. We don't know if it's
Spider-Gwen
or not, but we hope. Ooh, who else is it? Oh, Kirsten Dunst has come back as Mary Jane Watson in the original trilogy.
because she was the best Mary Jane Watson. But yeah, I know.
They cut the second one and they made the Spider-Man.
Yeah. Well, let's go.
Can I talk about that one thing that I really like a lot?
What?
Go for it.
So Marvel popped onto Twitter and they released the cover art for Alien issue 1.
Oh, yeah.
So that's coming out. It's official. So if you guys didn't jump in, I know those variants that are coming in January. Better jump in now.
Yeah, you got like 2 pages full of variants.
Yeah.
Tons of variants. There are 22 variants, right?
Yep.
22. We got it. So if you want those variants for those alien variants for aliens moving into the Marvel universe, which not confirmed if they're actually going to be in the comics with people. I hope so. Fingers crossed, but we'll have to wait and see. What else? Any other pop culture news?
Tobey Maguire might be coming back as the OG Spider-Man.
Tobey Maguire might be coming back as Spider-Man. That would be great.
Darth Vader this last week too.
What?
Did we talk about Darth Vader?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, we talked about it. And then Mandalorian. I have a Mandalorian Christmas sweater.
Grogu!
If anyone saw the last episode, granted, it was too short, but it was a masterpiece. We can all agree. And as somebody who was a huge fan of the OG person wearing that armor, you know who I'm talking about, then you would be really happy. Yes. So it was great. We are going to do things a bit backwards this week. I know Cam's going to be disappointed because we're not covering Marvel first, but we're going to cover DC first this week. The first book we're going to cover is Batman Black and White. Cam, your thoughts on Black and White where you didn't like it that much?
I was not a huge fan.
I was not the biggest fan of it either, at least the first issue. I do really like the art, though, like the ink style, the way it looks, it's a very noir feel. I like that. And there's a really sort of touching story with a very, very well-delivered line from Killer Croc at the very end of this. So I would say for that reason alone, it's totally worth skipping. Totally worth picking up and not skipping. The art was just really good. Like, I don't know. I have a thing for black and white ink art. But I had a good time with it. Cam says he didn't like it. Wait, this is issue 1, though. Didn't we just get it like a week ago? It was issue 1? This isn't the same book.
Oh, no, I'm talking about from the previews.
Oh, from the previews.
Yeah,
Oh,
you know,
okay.
I have stuff
Maybe
there.
I have this confused with Wolverine, Black, White, and Red.
Wolverine, Black, White, and Red.
Yeah. So I actually had a good time with this, and I would totally recommend it. Oh, Paul Dini's on this. Paul Dini, Max Fiumara, Andy Kubert, Trad Moore, Emma Rios, Greg Smola, Dexter Soy, James Tinian IV, J.H. Williams III, and G. Willow Wilson is on this. I want to know what story G. Willow Wilson was tied to. That was actually pretty good. Next is Sweet Tooth, The Return, and we're talking about Jeff Lemire and Jose Villabuera. I will admit I know nothing of the Sweet Tooth character that looks like a reindeer, a human reindeer. Very strange sort of story, a little creepy. It has a very Cullen Bunn feel to it. But I had a pretty good time, and I did want to know more. I missed the first issue, so I'm really not terribly caught up to speed. But I definitely like the art, and I think Villarubio is is that artist that does sometimes work with Cullen Bunn. I'm not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure. The art really feels like a Cullen Bunn story, and I had a good time with it. So
Yeah.
I would say check it out. Go back and read the first issue though, because if I'm confused as a huge comic fan that reads tons of comics, then you'll be confused probably too, unless you're fully on board with the Sweet Tooth universe. Next is Endless Winter Part 3, DC #1, Superman Special. And I will say that this was oddly kind of like a very good holiday story. Like it just felt like a holiday story. I mean, it ends with like hot chocolate and the Kent family, warming by the fire type stuff. And I had a good time with it, but I can't confirm. Can't confirm. But I will say it was a pretty good story. I had a good time with it. If you need something that's sort of holiday but is in the middle of a DC crisis, this is probably your jam right there.
When are they not in a crisis?
That's true. That's true. There are a ton of crises going on right now. American Vampire Book 3, DC Black Label. Of course, we're talking about Scott Snyder and Raphael Albuquerque with Dave McCaig's masterpiece. And wow. Okay, I freely admitted that I didn't, at least I don't think I read the other American Vampires. But after reading this, I'm sort of getting glimpses of the original story. So I think this is brain damage at work, and I have read them and have maybe forgotten parts of it. But there is a reveal at the end of this that is jaw-dropping. And the fact that I knew what it was involving and why it was jaw-dropping was kind of shocking. So again, I think this is brain damage in play, and that I've read American Vampire and just completely forgotten it. So I'm rediscovering my love for it. And this issue was outstanding. It was amazing. It was awesome. The surprise at the end was like just the icing on the cake. I really dig the art from this series, but more importantly, I really love the main character. Like he's just the right amount of asshole that he's really entertaining. So yeah, we'll have that here if you want to pick it up. Oh, we got a sale. Next is Batman Detective Comics. Hush, Little Robin, Don't Say a Word. And, well, you can tell it's Hush, and Hush is in play, and most of the Bat family has been captured by Hush, which is a pretty tragic thing, but, we've seen it before. But we are going to get a new look at Damian's new suit, or his new look, and I don't like it. I don't like it. And I think I showed it to you guys, and what did you guys think? Yeah, it's like the Drake outfit all over again. I don't like the look of his new suit. Yeah, it looks like Batman Al Ghul. And I don't know if his colors are supposed to be that way or if it was just because he was in the shadows and maybe they're hiding his new look. But I didn't like it one bit. I will say the rest of the comic, it's okay. I think it's just a way to introduce Damian's new look, which sucks. It sucks. It's not Drake bad. I mean, we don't have the doo-doo suit bad. But, hey, Wheeler, thank you for the sub, man. Much appreciated. It's not doo-doo brown bad, but it is still pretty bad. You'll have to see it. Let's just call it Robin Al Ghul. That's what it is. Yeah. Okay. Next is DC's Very Merry Multiverse, and yes, you are going to get multiverse stories in this. You are going to get Gotham or I guess Christmas by Gaslight is what they're calling it, and you're even going to get that weird DC universe that is very psychedelic, and the Green Lantern looks like Shaggy from Scooby-Doo. That's in here too. But the real question, and Bizarroverse is in here, but the real question on everyone's mind, since this is a holiday special, is DC's Grinch Larfleeze, the Orange Lantern, in this story. He's DC's Grinch. He's perfect for a holiday story, and no.
God, man.
He's still shelved,
3 years in a row. What the hell?
3 years, and we've only seen him once after Rebirth? I'm so annoyed. Like, what is going on? Hey, thanks, Wheeler. Got to go work. Okay, well, thanks, brother. Much appreciated.
Saving himself from himself. That greedy.
Could be. I mean, the only time we saw Larfleeze was he he had commandeered one of the old Brainiac models and was like, "Hey, this thing lets me collect. Let me collect everything." And he was just rolling around with like a Brainiac model, which is perfect for him, right?
I like your Brainiac, by the way.
It's perfect. Well, that was my Larfleeze.
Oh, that's cool.
It's mine, mine. I'm telling you, I'm the voice of Larfleeze. If DC ever gave that opportunity, I would run at it screaming. Would definitely try out for that. Next is Dark Multiverse Flashpoint. Here lies Barry Allen, the man who destroyed reality. Yeah, I mean that's he does that every day. Solomon Grundy's song should just be retooled to represent Barry Allen's like destruction on the DC universe. Solomon Grundy doesn't exist on a Monday because Barry Allen. So, anyways, so yes, this Flashpoint is different. We joked about it. Like, what would be the funniest thing you could see? Like Barry Allen getting struck a second time in Flashpoint and it not healing him and making him the Flash. And yeah, we get that. It's that fucked up. And that's just the beginning of what happens. It gets way more dark. If you can't tell, there is a certain reverse thing going on the cover, which should give it away. It's twisted. It's messed up. I will say that even though we kind of predicted the beginning of it, it wasn't as predictable as that Batman Hush book, which should be buried out in the desert somewhere. This one was pretty good. So I will say, if you were looking for some of the multiverse stuff or the dark multiverse stuff, that one's better. Next is Endless Winter Part 2, The Flash at the Mercy of Black Adam. Now, this is a twisted storyline because we've got a few heroes that have originally fought this big bad, these Norse gods that are breaking into DC's world, except a couple of them have already lived through it. Now, Swampy is there, and it's pretty much assumed that that's not Alec Holland because this is like ancient Egypt time. But a certain hero villain for the rest of us, but hero of Kahndaq is. So, yeah, Black Adam exists in both timelines, and it seems like he knows exactly what's going on. I'm getting this sort of Bill and Ted vibe from like, oh, I know how this is going to turn out, but, I'm just going to go with it type deal. So I liked it. I really liked it. Plus, anything that gives Black Adam a bit more character than just being, broody and whatever else is always my jam. He's probably one of... I think he, other than Larfleeze, I'd say he's my favorite anti-hero. Well, Larfleeze is technically a villain. But I'd say Black Adam is my favorite anti-hero of the DC universe. We should talk about that.
He feels kind of like Dr. Doom in some ways.
Sometimes. But there was one time where he was like looking over Kahndaq. Is that how you pronounce it? Kahndaq? I've never actually known.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. I got it right. He was like looking over Kahndaq one time, and somebody was like, "Suicide bomber," and Black Adam was like, "No," and he like flies down there. He rips the dude's arm off, and like rips the bomb off, and like throws him into space or something. It's just like, not on my watch. So I love Black Adam for stuff like that, dude. He's such a cool character. I'm glad The Rock's gonna play him.
Yeah. And they went straight to him, too. They were like, we're going to do a Black Adam movie now. And it's like, we didn't even do a Shazam.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
It's perfect.
Right?
Yeah, that's perfect casting. Next is Dark Knight's Death Metal, Last Stories of the DC Universe. Now, we have talked about some of these books feeling like filler, and I'm going to say this one is the opposite of that. This was, while I don't think it's really important to read to get the main storyline of Dark Knight's Death Metal, I will say this is the most touching of all the books. There is a lot of depth. It's a bunch of stories, mostly that center around people tied to the Teen Titans universe. But we're going to see some old friends patch up their past, and we're going to see some heroes get married in this one. And it was it's really, really touching. More importantly, you're going to see like some fallout from the other parts of the multiverse being destroyed and people coming together. And yeah, it feels right. Like if if you're on the last moments of something, the last gasp, the final fight, like this is what we need to see, and it shows. I mean, this was written by I think Tinian and Snyder both had a hand in this, but let me see. Jim Lee had a hand in the oh, it was publisher. Yeah. Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah. But I can't find who wrote it. Oh, here it is. It's Joshua Williamson, James Tinian the fourth, Scott Snyder, art by Travis Moore, and colors by Tamara Bonville. So yeah, there you go. That's why it's good because Snyder and Tinian are attached to it, in my opinion. Williamson's good too. But yeah, it's great. It's great, and I would say don't skip it if you're a DC fan. And this is gonna be my DC pick of the week for sure, without a doubt. This book. Next is going to be Homesick Pilots, and this is Image, issue number 1. And the art looks very, from the cover at least, looks very, what does that look like to you? Yogi, what does this cover look like?
That looks like something Jen Bartel would draw.
It kind of does, but it's not. It does, but it totally looks like it, but it's not. This is Waters, Wingard, Bittaker, and Mueller. This book was actually, it kind of blew my mind. It centers around, well, a punk band that has a disagreement with another punk band. And, it goes back and forth. They've got their little kind of dramas. Meanwhile, they're at a punk show that gets raided by the cops. And they got to split up. And it also involves a haunted house. Now, this book made me laugh out loud 3, maybe 4 times. It was great. It has a good sense of comedic timing, which is weird to find in a comic book. But the timing is just outstanding. They timed it with every page turn. It made me laugh every time. The dialogue is really, really, really good. More importantly, and I don't know why this is, but I'm just going to show it. The haunted house that happens in this book is the exact haunted house from the video game This War of Mine. That's the house from This War of Mine. The only thing you don't see is the basement, but that's the exact house layout. Now, I don't know. I'm guessing the artist is a fan and just sort of like decided to draw that disheveled house. But it was kind of a cool callback. And I don't think it has to do with anything tied to the story. But that's very clearly the house from that game. So that's something else to see. Now, the art was great. Like, really, really good. Top shelf art for an Image comic, for sure. And, Image is pretty damn good when it comes to art. I will live and die by that phrase. So this one being great, it says a lot. The storyline was great. The dialogue was great. Nothing to complain about. And I'm probably going to buy this whole series. So you should too. It seems like they've hit it out of the park with this first issue. So don't skip it. Next is Ultraman, The Rise of Ultraman. This is Higgins, Groom, Mana, and Gruntajern. And this is issue number 4. Yes, we finally get the Kaiju Ultraman fight we've been waiting for. And we finally get to see him suit up and fly around and use his powers. But there's almost too much dialogue at this point. Like, I want more action from Ultraman. It's Ultraman. I want a good fight. And yeah, they're fleshing out the storyline a bit more and, everything else. But I'm just waiting to see him swinging on a Kaiju. That's all I really want. So we're getting there. And it's still a really, really good comic, and the art is good. It's just the slowest of burn from something that I don't want to slow burn, in my opinion. But it's not saying it's a bad thing. It's still a good Ultraman comic. Next is Cullen Bunn, Nelson Blake II, and Snakebite Cortez, and we're talking about Bite-Sized, issue number 1 of 4. Now, if you catch how there's a little bit of Christmas in there because it's got a little Christmas feeling. The art, first of all, let's discuss the art. The art is outstanding. I had a really good time with this art. It feels fun. It feels exactly like the kind of art I'd want to tell this story. What is the story like? Well, I'll tell you, it feels like Gremlins meets Batteries Not Included. I don't even think Yogi was paying attention when I said this story feels like Gremlins meets Batteries Not Included. That's what it feels like.
So like a Spielberg and a Zemeckis.
It's what it feels like, and I liked it. I had a really good time with it. I will say, it's not the deepest of stories, and I want to know where it's going. They haven't really expanded much further beyond what's in here, but it's pretty awesome. It centers around what appears to be some sort of military, like alien robot tech that has escaped. and decided to take up refuge in a family's home. That's what it seems like, and it seems kind of fun and sweet. So I would say don't skip it. It was actually a pretty good one. Now I will say that my indie pick of the week is definitely going to Homesick Bastards because this book is just a can't miss if you like indie books. But second place is going to go to Bite Size, and I'd say don't skip that one either. That's a pretty good holiday book actually. Next is we're going to talk about it because Cam wants me to talk about it. And that is, of course, Venom Nullified. This is the Nullified variant, which looks great. You want to tell us who that is, Cam?
Oh my God, the Scream? No.
No. I think it's the Human Torch, too.
Oh wow.
I think it's the Human Torch, but who knows? I mean, Avengers is doing Phoenix stuff, so maybe it looks like the Human Torch. Nullified Human Torch. Now, okay, we're going to talk about this book. First of all, the art. Is the art on a Venom book ever bad? I think Venom Island was the only time where I was like on the fence.
Even then, though, they had that dope-ass A cover with like the skull.
Yeah, that was a Clayton Crane. Yeah.
Oh, Crane,
Yeah. Okay, so the art is great. We know this. The storyline, well, we saw that the last part of The King in Black ended with Eddie having the suit ripped off of him. And so this picks up the exact moment after that. And I can't spoil anything for you, but I will say this. The way this book is written, it feels like a Shakespeare novel unfolding in the Marvel universe. It is a masterpiece. I was hooked on every single phrase that Donny Cates turned in this entire issue and couldn't put it down. And by the time I reached the end, I did feel like I was witnessing that sort of Shakespearean tragedy. It was beautiful. So, okay, without a doubt, after all that praise, what's my pick of the week? My pull of the week for Marvel is for sure Venom. Venom 31 is the toppest of the top shelf of not just anything Marvel does, but anything Donny Cates does. It was out fucking standing. So, okay. It's don't skip it, don't skip it, don't skip it. Yes, there are some callbacks to stuff that if you haven't been following Venom for a bit, you might not know one or two characters, but I don't think it'll detract from everything. Don't skip it. Do not. Pull of the week for sure. Next, Red Sonja, The Price of Blood, or as the casual fans like to call it when they wander through our store, Red Sonja. What is this Red Sonja comic? Okay, so Red Sonja. Yes, there are a billion Red Sonja books. Yes, there are a billion Red Sonja crossover books. It's no secret that Dynamite likes to capitalize on the pretty lady heroes. Now, is it good? Honestly, this was the best Red Sonja book I've read in like the last 10 years. It was a great opener. It was fun. The art was really good, like really good. Did not feel generic at all. Laughed out loud a few times. Had some good action. Went really far with the plot in just a few short pages and left me wanting more. So again, another really good book that isn't Marvel and isn't DC this week. This Red Sonja is probably a must pick up. So if you are a Red Sonja fan, you read that other stuff and you go like, one or two of these stories are good, that third one's not so much. This is the opposite. It is one story and it was really good. So pick it up. Next is the Comic Book History of Animation, Part 1, Silent but Deadly. This is Fred Van Lint. Right, can I get a drink of something? Can you grab me something, man? I feel like I got a frog in my throat. Ryan Dunleavy, and this is the Comic Book History of Animation. I just said that, Silent but Deadly. This should really be titled How Animation Screwed Over the Comic Industry, because that's what it feels like. And if we're pushing towards the domineering force of a small mouse with big ears, we might be. That might be being covered in here. It's good. It's really good. It's colorful. It's told in the history of, animation and comics. Mostly animation, but it feels like you're building towards something that's going to be grand and large in the form of a mouse. But It's good. It's really good. It basically talks about people getting double crossed and screwed over and this and that, and it's pretty dark, but told in a very nice animation comic style. It's weird to say something like that. Thank you for the drink, man. I was like dying. Mm. And so again, another good book that's it's by IDW this week. That's not by Marvel and DC. So if you feel like you want a little bit of history in your comics, that there you go. Next is Chapman, Rebelka, and Delpeche, and this is Origins 2 of 6. Now this is that of all the apocalypse books we have out there, of which there are a lot right now. This one centers around a plant apocalypse, I believe, is what I remember and what I've seen in this issue. Now, that's not the standout. The story is, it's okay. I'm not complaining about it. It's just not like over the top. But the art is really good. And I don't know what it is. Whenever art looks like it's borderline watercolors, but not quite, I'm like hooked. And this is that style. I don't know what it is, but I really, really like this art style. So for that reason alone, I'd say don't skip it. Next is Ninchezia, Garni, and Milia, and we're talking about Juggernaut. Now, this Juggernaut book is amazing. Amazing. You see my face grin every time I pick up one of these books. No, this is number 4.
Is it better than number 1?
Oh, it's as good as number 1. It is Juggernaut growing to a new character and casting off his former ties, which is just awesome to see. Really, really cool. Yeah, it has been a good series, but this issue in particular was amazing. And it does set the stage for the fact that this Juggernaut is not one we've seen before, and there's going to be a lot more character, and he's going to be righting a lot of his own wrongs. So, yeah, good showing, guys. I'm hooked on a character that I'd never thought would have this much depth. It was awesome. Next is Eastman, Campbell, Nishijima, and Pattinson, and we're talking about TMNT. Mutanimals no more. So, well, this has been building for a while. The Mutanimals set off a bomb which mutated part of New York. I think a third of New York or something, or an eighth or something. Some giant chunk of New York. And some people blame the Mutanimals for ruining their lives, and some people, kind of think that the Mutanimals maybe saved their lives and made them into better people. And so it's putting Mutanimals versus Mutanimals with the mutants in the mix and the humans and stuff like that. And it's saying like a lot of like, what can you do if your life is ruined by their actions? And it centers around a new character that is a poison dart tree frog person. So that's a terrible mutation. Can you imagine like waking up one day and not being able to touch anyone because you'll poison them? Yeah, that's what this person's going through. So it's awesome. I've had a really good time with this TMNT stuff, but nobody's reading it right now because everybody just wants The Last Ronin, of which we do have second prints. So if you missed out on the first printing, we've got a few. Come in and pick them up or order them online. We've got a couple. And ordering online, please, if you're from like some far off place and you order online, don't take all of our comics, please, man. Like, you got to leave some for our customers here in the store. Next is a book I didn't realize I would love, and now I know why, because I looked at who made it. Ewing, Shitty, and Gracia, and we're talking about Sword X. This centers around the space station, which was originally calibrated or filled with people that were trying to destroy the X-Men. And now, Krakoa's taken it over, and they've got a new team that's going to be taking care of it. And they're dealing with cosmic stuff and might have pulled some artifact from some mystic part of the universe, and they haven't explained it. So that alone is worth picking up this book. And I might have spoiled something. I'm sorry. I should give you a spoiler warning. But just that aside, you have this new team that is super interesting and fun, and I want to know more of, and I want to know what they're doing. And yeah, it's Ewing being Ewing because he's made something that's super interesting in the first issue. So yeah, again, this is another one. Don't skip. This might have been my pick of the week had I had not already gone to another one. Now we've got another book from Marvel that again knocks it out of the park this week, and that is Guardians of the Galaxy. This is Ewing, Cabal, and Blee. Again, an Al Ewing book that I've fallen in love with. Go figure. This particular Guardian centers around what happens to Peter Quill, and ultimately how he is reborn, sort of. It's pretty awesome, dude. And the way it happens too is very Guardians-esque. It was beautiful. It was a fun ride. I was hooked from the beginning and couldn't stop. And normally I have to speed read these books, and this is one where I actually slowed down and sort of like was like, no, I need to take my time with this book. And it does lead into the King in Black, which is good. And the art is super good, like top shelf here as well. Really, really good art on that book. Next, Strange Academy, and this is Scotty Young, Humberto Ramos, and Edgar Delgado. The last issue had some of the class being captured by some weird swamp creatures, and we're going to get the wrap up of that. We're also going to get to see the powers that some of these people contain, and we might be seeing the death of some characters. So it's kind of sad, but Scotty Young's not pulling any punches here. He's got a really good cast of characters that I don't know too well, but desperately want to know. And he's really tugging at our heartstrings with this. So it's just been a fun ride with the Strange Academy stuff, and I can't get enough of it. Next is not a Black Label book, but totally looks like a Black Label book. This is Cullen Bunn, Szymon Kudranski, Piecemeal, and Marshall Dillon, Piecemeal by Aftershock Comics. Now, this is a weird and strange story. First of all, the art is top tier, like really good art, and desperately, like, it just fit the story so well. It gave a sense of desperation, and you know, a sense of some growing evil. It's just perfect horror art. The story's pretty good. It centers around a bunch of kids going into what appears to be a haunted house and then finding a brain in a jar. That's not something you just find lying around. And it's sort of, it gets darker and more twisted from there. I was stuck on this story. I felt like it should have came out at Halloween. But as far as horror stories go, like, this was great. The art was good, and there was a good sense of tension, and I love the use of pinks and black. So, yeah, don't skip it. Awesome. So many awesome books this week. You guys, if you're buying these, you're going to go broke because it's a really good week for comics. Next is Jason Aaron, Keown, Hannah, and Keith. This is the prologue for Enter the Phoenix, and really it's showing the tale of the first Phoenix, the BC... What was it, BC 10,000 for the Avengers, the early Avengers? Was it BC 10 million? It was some ridiculous number. But this is the original story of the original Phoenix and how she came to be, and it was pretty good. It was great. I will say it's not Aaron at its best. It wasn't. It was an interesting story, just not my favorite. Maybe it's because I'm coming off the heels of that Moon Knight Black Panther fight. But it was pretty good. I would say don't skip it, especially since it's setting the stage for all the Phoenix stuff that's about to happen. Next is Sewell, Basildua, and Rosenberg, and we're talking about Star Wars, Operation Starlight, the Ancient Relic. Yes, this is the Star Wars that takes place in between Empire and Return of the Jedi, of which there is a lot of space, and they're filling it in as needed. Luke is definitely running around with a Sentinel saber, and we don't get that story in this. Instead, we do get a heist. Are you guys ready for this? A heist in the Star Wars universe targeting an Imperial museum organized by the #1 man for launching a heist, C-3PO. It was awesome. Like, I love the liberties they're taking. They're going to places that we don't really expect as Star Wars fans, and yet it works. It worked well. I was super intrigued by this issue. Oh, it's genius. And I can't spoil the reason why they're doing this heist, but it also makes sense. So, yeah, really awesome issue. Don't skip it at all. Next is Donny Cates, Jeff Shaw, Dee Cunniffe, and John J. Hill, and we're talking about crossover. Now, crossover is essentially what happens when a comics universe gets pulled across and into reality, what happens when those cross over. And what happens? Well, for starters, we do get a prison that is holding a bunch of heroes and villains, and one of them seems to be Batman. So that's Donny Cates doing fun stuff. The art is so good. Who's the artist again? Jeff Shaw. God, the art is just like candy for my eyes. It's exactly how you imagine. They even do the old like newsprint dots on like the comic heroes, which just it feels right. So I'm hooked on this too, and I want to know where this is going. And really, I understand now. The first issue I was kind of on the fence about. I was like, it's pretty good. I'm not sure I get the hype. I definitely get the hype with this issue. It had me hooked. So yeah, can't wait for the next issue. Oh, did they? Okay. Gerner, Bivens, Monahan, and Powell. This is the Devil's Red Bride, or as I like to call it, excessively bloody Usagi Yojimbo. That's what it feels like to me. This centers around sister of a guy who's supposed to be one of the lords and is supposed to be a badass samurai who is sort of taking his place in his armor and has spiraled out from there. It is a very, very bloody samurai story with tons of intrigue and quite a few twists so far. I've had a great time with it. It's like reading an Akira Kurosawa story that was dark, like and very horror-esque, other than just the usual sort of samurai film tension. It's great. So again, The Devil's Red Bride, this is issue 3. I've not had an issue that's been bad so far, so I'm going to say keep buying that. It's awesome. Next is, this is Dugan, Caselli, and Delgado, and this is Marauders, issue number 16. What do you want to happen with the Marauders, Nate? That's what you want, Kill Shaw? You want Kill Shaw to be resolved? You want some punishment to be doled out? Do you want it to be in a very pirate fashion because we're talking about the X-Men pirates, the Marauders?
I want it to be as brutal and nasty as possible.
That's what you get. You get a very brutal beatdown, and it's very Kate Pride, Emma Frost. It's awesome. We finally get this whole Shaw stuff being sort of resolved, and it gets done in such a twisted and just messed up way, and even like uses Shaw's own hubris against himself, or well, I mean, he's already used his own hubris against himself, but you get what I'm saying. Twists himself against himself. So yeah, and that's what happens. His ego definitely hangs him in this. It's awesome. So again, really, really amazing. The art, I gush about this art enough. It's great art. I'm not gonna keep selling it to you like that. It's awesome. Caselli is just an amazing artist. And Jerry Dugan, I'm a huge fan of his work. I love the way he writes action. This is amazing. You want what? I want Pirate Deadpool Marauders too. I want Pirate Deadpool. That's perfect.
Marvel Realm of Champions, the new mobile game will have a pirate.
Here's to them.
I don't get that.
Just play and get good.
Okay. Captain Marvel. We're talking about Thompson, Garbett, Ortega, Fabella. Captain Marvel, yes, she's still in, I think, 2054. And I haven't had the best time with this because I feel like we've seen her in these future apocalypse scenarios before. But this one centers around Namor's kid and some pretty beastly darkness, I must say. The end of this had me going, what? No. Like, I was shocked by the end. You'll see. I will say, like, this is a page turner. The art is great. The storyline is honestly really, really good. I was bored with the sort of future apocalypse stuff that they were reselling to me. But this one hooked me, and by the time I got to the end, it felt almost like an Immortal Hulk ending where I was like, no, that's not good. Like, not quite as intense, but pretty intense. Yeah. Let's think. What's the one Marvel hero that is completely invulnerable that you would not want to be mind controlled?
I mean, Cage almost say you get heavy enough hit or he just keeps messing up the organs inside. His skin's pulling through, and that is core.
True.
Yeah, that's true.
Where's daughter?
What?
Where's daughter?
Oh, no, not yet. Okay, J.J. Abrams, Henry Abrams, Sarah Pacelli, and Dave Stewart. How old is Henry Abrams?
Is he like a teenager?
Is he a teenager?
I don't know.
Okay. I don't know. Okay, let's just say. So the art it's all right. I'm not fully sold on the art, and I didn't like that we had to wait a year before the next issue came out of this comic. Literally a year. I will say that this storyline. So J.J. Abrams had a hand in this, but if this was written by a teenager, Henry Abrams, good job. If he's a teenager, good job. I would say that as far as like a story goes for a kid, it had plenty of twists and turns. It felt very childlike, which if that's a father and son thing, good job. If it's not written by a teenager, then I will say my critique is this story goes all over the place, like way all over the place. Like, do you remember last issue where he's suddenly being attacked by a giant spider? Yeah, and this issue, I'm not going to spoil much more than just the.
Stop reading that.
Okay, I'm not going to spoil much more than the opening, but he wakes up on a boat covered with stuff, and there's like a cybernetic sort of mutant thing helping him. And it goes from there, and the twists are so over the top and wild that I was like, this seems like it's written by a kid. Which, again, if it's written by a kid, then okay, good job, right? If it's written by an adult, okay, it seems very childlike. I don't know. I don't want to be too harsh on this book because let's be honest, like J.J. Abrams has given us some great stuff. This is just it's okay, and I'm still sort of mad that they made us wait a year between issue 1 and issue 2, but it's okay.
22 years old.
Oh, he's 22 years old.
Oh,
Oh, then it's not a teenager that I'm talking about. The story went all over the place. I don't have to pull any punches now. It went all over the place. It seemed kind of weird. It had me wondering if it was written by a kid, but like a young kid. Like I was thinking like Axe Cop Young, which that story goes all over the place, but that kid is 7.
That thing is amazing.
That kid is 7. That story is amazing. I will agree. Abraham Lincoln, like cyborg Abraham Lincoln. Okay. That's what it felt like. It felt like Axe Cop, which is written by a 7-year-old. Okay, so that story went everywhere, and it was weird as hell. That's what I'm gonna say. All right. All right. Parrot, Rena, and Biamonte. We're talking about Mighty Morphin Power Rangers issue number 2. God damn, this is some good stuff. Now, I haven't been in the Power Rangers for a minute, but this felt like the original series with the twists and turns and the way it played out and the characters being exactly who they are. And, you know, I had a really good time with this. So it's awesome. I don't skip this stuff that's on our shelf right now. The Power Ranger stuff. If you're even slightly a Power Ranger fan, you will love that stuff. Let's talk about something else that's not that amazing. Spencer Bagley, Hennessy, Del Delgado, Last Remains, The Amazing Spider-Man. We're finally getting the wrap-up. Guess what? It wasn't Norman Osborn. That was Harry Osborn. He just looks like Norman Osborn. He's got the hairlines now. Is that a genetic trait? Instead of going bald, they just get hairlines?
that was on an animated series in the 90s. His hair, like Harry and Norman's hair was like the same. It's just like Norman was like older.
Yeah. So, okay. I don't like the twist in this. I hate it. And yeah, him being back, like, he does have mastery over death, which is pretty twisted. And Peter has made some mistakes. We all know Peter Parker makes mistakes. But it just doesn't feel like they're doing anything new with this. And when you get to the last page, guys, who's reading this right now? You've been reading this? Okay. The last page, a twist of the sins of Peter's past that he has to face, happens to be. Are you guys ready? No.
Oh,
what?
Mary Jane.
Why'd you say it? Don't say it. Don't say it.
I thought it was gonna be some ridiculous thing where like the twins.
How long has that Abrams Spider-Man been going for? It is 3 issues, man, and it has been going for a year and a half.
That's just number 5, isn't it? Abrams?
Was it? Is it issue 5?
I think so.
Oh, it is 5. It has been 5 issues, but it's been like a year and a half because they spaced it out between 1 and 2. Okay, so the twists in this current Amazing Spider-Man run aren't twists. They built this really sinister character that nobody could remember his name, and it turned out to be, well, another Spider-Man villain that nobody's surprised about. He's less crazy now. I mean, he's not screaming in an insane asylum, but he's still kind of a bastard, which is normal. The final twist of what Peter has to face, the sins of his past, is no shocker to anyone that knows how tortured he is in this particular realm. There's no twists here. There's no twists. And frankly, the whole Last Remains thing, the action is great, and it's a good excuse for the action, but it's weak writing so far, and I'm not a fan of it. I'm sorry. I'm not a fan of it. Next is, well, it says King in Black on the cover, and it says the Black Tide. Busiek, Dewey, and Sharf, and Pharrell. But this is Namor, number 1, the King in Black tie-in. Does it tie into the King in Black? Not really. Not really. Does it tell a good Namor story? Yeah, actually. It tells some of his, growing up, some of the things that happened and an event that shaped his life. And the characters are super intriguing. I wanted to know more. The art, I was kind of on the fence about, and I'm not sure why. This is, this is Kurt Busiek and Benjamin Dewey. I don't know. The art felt almost too gritty, but I will say that as somebody who knows Namor and knows Namor comics, that's how they're supposed to feel. They do feel like that. So maybe it's just my own personal bias on really over the top gritty art that is getting to me. But it was a good read. I had a good time, and I think Cam will love this because he's such a big Namor fan. There's nothing bad about that, but the King in Black thing doesn't.
I thought you were talking about issue 3.
When is it going to tie in? The event's kicked off, man.
What's gonna happen when he gets owned by Noel?
Oh man. Usagi Yojimbo, issue number 15. This is actually Usagi dealing with the Tengu, which in Japanese folklore, they are sort of a type of imp that happens to be really, really phenomenal swordsmen. Now, when I was reading this, I seem to remember it does flash back in the story to a time when Usagi dealt with the Tengu before. And I seem to remember reading this in like the original Usagi comics, like that tie-in, but I'm not entirely sure. It does pick off, it recaps it, and then picks off as to what happened. But I had a good time with it. And this is Stan Sakai and Hi-Fi. It was a really, really good showing. But again, I'm super biased towards Usagi comics. I will tell you they're great all the time because Sakai can do no wrong in my eyes. So I'm pretty biased on that. Next is another book that I didn't realize I would like as much as I did, and it's because I don't like the fact that there's a billion Vampirella comics on the shelf. This is Abney, David House, Dahlhaus, and Otis Main, and El Hoa. There's Vampirella Red Sonja, not to be confused with Red Sonja Vampirella, not to be confused with Vampirella, not to be confused with, what is it, The Death of Vampirella? Not to be confused with Sacred Six, not to be confused with... there's a million Vampirella comics on the shelf. Like Dynamite goes deep on Vampirella, and it's hard for them to stand out. But this book did just that. Vampirella: The Dark Powers. Now, hear me out. What happens if you put a character like Vampirella on a team of superheroes? Well, she doesn't give a crap and tends to just murder everything and everyone that they're trying to fight because she's a vampire. So it's the Punisher mentality. If you put the Punisher on a team, either the Punisher is going to call the shots or he's going to kill everyone and not care. That's it.
Should be. Yeah.
That's it. So that's what you're getting. You're getting Vampirella teaming up with superheroes, and that's what's happening. And honestly, it was pretty good. Like I had a good time with it. The art was really good for a Vampirella comic. This art was great. There wasn't one page where I said, "Oh, that's kind of generic." Not at all. And the cover art's good. It was a fun run. So if you're a Vampirella fan, finally you got a book that I think is amazing and it doesn't feel very generic in form.
First time you said that about Vampirella.
I haven't said that in like 20 years. So. The last book on our list is these are the Robert E. Howard Savage Hero Uncensored stories. These are stories from the Conan universe, but told as Robert E. Howard meant them. So they're very brutal, they're very chauvinistic, they're very non-PC, a lot of nudity. You know, so if any of that stuff bothers you, then don't read this. But honestly, this was pretty awesome. The art is super good, and I mean super good. If you're going to tell a gory story, you know, about battlefields and war-tested people, this is perfect. And this centers around, well, what happens when a Norse god winds up fighting a certain everyone's favorite Cimmerian who was born on a battlefield. And this time, I'll celebrate the fact that this time he's not fighting a blood god per se. He is fighting a Norse god, and a lot of them do require sacrifice, but it's not a blood god.
Interesting.
Yeah. So it was awesome. Like a really, really good read, a really good time. I loved it. It was a page turner. And again, the art is so stupid good. Like, I don't know what they're doing. Oh, and of course, the cover is Peach Momoko. So I'm talking about the art being great, and then there's like, you know, just a cover that goes with the art being amazing. So yeah, it's great. I'd say don't skip it. If you're a Conan fan like me, if you're a Conan fan like me, maybe don't skip these Robert E. Howard Cimmerian books. They're really good for Conan fans. And that's our show for this week.
We got some cool stuff to show you guys.
We have these in store. Last Ronin issue, second print. And I will say that this second print cover looks better than the first. I might actually pick it up myself. We will have a few on our shelves, not a lot. We have an autographed. Oh, wow. So this is So. I can never pronounce his name. So? Signed it? Soleil?
Soleil.
Is that how you pronounce it? Certified, authorized signature for Star Wars #1. So if you want to add to your collection, this is what? How much?
Oh, God. 75? I don't remember.
We don't remember what we priced it at. This is in our store, though. If you're a Star Wars fan, you will love this.
Last but not least.
And finally, Batman the Animated Series, CGC certified, issue #1, a 9.6. Yeah, I know everything's backwards. A 9.6, and that will be on our shelf too. This is $90.
Yep,
$90. So you're paying a high price, but you're getting a 9.6 CGC, which is a pretty damn high grading on a Batman comic. So yeah. Anything else this week? That's our show for this week. But pay attention to our Twitch, twitch.com/Green Machine Comics, or you can go to greenmachinecomics.live. We will be doing Cyberpunk all this week. The second it comes out, when I'm not at work, I will be bleeding Cyberpunk from my eyes onto the stream. So don't skip it. It's going to be great. And that comes out tomorrow at 9 p.m. So tomorrow at 9 p.m., we will start the first Cyberpunk stream, and I might not sleep that night. I might go all night and come to work just dead tired. Just go on through to tomorrow. But we'll see. We'll see. And that's our show. So we'll see you guys later.
Got your back on Friday.
Oh, yeah. I literally might stay up the whole night because that's...
Like, I'm still on the fence about buying it. I want to know how the game plays.
Cyberpunk feels more exciting to me than Christmas this year.